This is CBC News Network, and this hour we lead off with the very latest on a breaking story from Burkina Faso. Kirk Woodman, a Canadian man abducted on Tuesday in the country, has been killed. In Ottawa, our reporter Janice McGregor with the details we have so far on this breaking story. Janice?
Yeah, our colleagues at Radio Canada were able to reach a spokesperson for Burkina Faso's security ministry, and they are confirming now that Kirk Woodman was found dead last night. He was found at a location, actually, that's about 100 kilometers from the mining site where he was working in that country. He is from Halifax, but he had been working for a Vancouver-based mining firm, Progress Minerals, and he was abducted Tuesday evening local time at a mining site that is actually closer to Burkina Faso's border with Niger, kind of in the country's northeast. His employer to this point has not been saying very much, but this is obviously the worst possible news for his employer and his family.
And Janice, as we talk about that and look at the map, the place where the body was discovered, as you say, about 100 kilometers from the place where he was taken. Confirmation, yes, through our colleagues at Radio Canada, and we should also say from CBC News talking to family members, and we're going to get to that family angle to all of this in just a moment. But as we look at this map, Janice, nobody has yet claimed responsibility, but we know some of the most notorious terror extremist groups are very active in this part of the world, and the Canadian government considers it to be an extremely dangerous place.
Yeah, this is an unsafe part of the world, no question. The region of Burkina Faso where this happened is one where it's been well documented, the security risks, because of increasing attacks from jihadist groups. There are a number. They are often loosely organized, but you have Al-Qaeda in the Maghreb. There are also ISIS-affiliated groups, perhaps coming over from neighboring Mali. These groups are all fighting to get more influence across the Sahel region. That's sort of a region of Africa that sort of stretches across a number of countries just south of the Sahara Desert. And while, as you say, no particular group has yet claimed responsibility for Woodman's death, the security situation there has been deteriorating. For a while, Burkina Faso was thought to be safer than Mali and Niger, some of its neighbors. But in fact, it is a very difficult part of the country to police. Other countries had been sending in some security forces to try and help and get the security situation under control. But as you say, the Canadian government has been warning for some time about the risks of traveling and working in this part of the world because of banditry and kidnapping, as unfortunately happened to Mr. Woodman in this case.
Janice, thank you very much. Janice McGregor with some of the early details out of Ottawa. We expect government reaction from the Liberal cabinet retreat in Sherbrooke, and we'll bring that to you as it happens, and also any word from the company, Progress Mineral Mining in Vancouver. Nothing from them to this point. But of course, those for whom this will touch most painfully and closest, the family members. And let's go to Halifax next. Kirk Woodman's family based in Nova Scotia. Brett, what, if anything, are we hearing there?
Well, Heather, Janice covered the details, the basic details, but I can tell you that we have confirmed with the family Kirk Woodman's death. We spoke via email to Matt Woodman, who is speaking on behalf of the family, again via email. That's Kirk Woodman's son, and he said via email in a statement very briefly that the family was notified that they found out about an hour ago that Kirk Woodman had died, and that at this time he's just asking for privacy. So very brief statement from the family, again confirming the death of Kirk Woodman and also saying and asking for privacy for the family at this time.
We had heard a statement from the family earlier in the week, hadn't we, Brett, how they had faith in the Canadian authorities to bring their husband and father home, how hopeful they were that there would be a fast resolution to the situation. That was an earlier statement. But again, just a very brief statement saying we ask for privacy at the confirmation of this. And again, as we look at this story, we look at the region where this is all played out, a very dangerous part of the world, in fact, a state of emergency in parts of the north of Burkina Faso since December 31st because of the activity of extremist groups like Islamic State, like Al-Qaeda. And the facts The kidnapping on Tuesday, the body recovered now about 100 kilometers away from the abduction site. Just in, a statement from Global Affairs Canada and from Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, saying that Canada is appalled and deeply saddened that Kirk Woodman has been killed in Burkina Faso. I'm going to read you the next two paragraphs, again, just coming in moments ago. Canada condemns those responsible for this terrible crime. We are working with the government of Burkina Faso and other international partners to pursue those responsible and bring them to justice. The government's priority is the safety and security of Canadians. We extend our heartfelt condolences to Mr. Woodman's family and loved ones. This is a devastating and extremely painful time for them, and they have Canada's full support. As they mourn this tragedy, we ask that their privacy be respected. That just in from Chrystia Freeland's office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, saying, again, Canada appalled and deeply saddened by the death, the killing of Kirk Woodman. From the family, again, the request for privacy. CBC News speaking with son Matt, saying they just found out this morning, we just want privacy. I want to take you to Sherbrooke, Quebec, and Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, reacting to the death of the Canadian man killed in Burkina Faso.
We are in touch with his family. They have been informed. We're working closely with the authorities in Burkina Faso. This is a terrible crime, and Canada is absolutely committed to working with the authorities in Burkina Faso to bring those responsible to justice. And I think our first thought today is with his family, with his friends who received some really dreadful news today. Je peux confirmer que le Canadien Kirk Woodman a été tué à Burkina Faso. Les autorités canadiennes, nous sommes en contact avec la famille de M. Woodman. Nous continuerons de travailler en étroite collaboration avec les autorités de Burkina Faso.
So what you're just hearing, and I'll just reiterate in English, the statement in French, the confirmation that Foreign Affairs, Global Affairs Canada has confirmed the death of Kirk Woodman in Burkina Faso and is committed to working, you're hearing the minister say now, to working with authorities in Burkina Faso to bring those responsible to justice.
Le gouvernement, je pense que tous les Canadiens ont beaucoup de sympathie pour la famille, les proches de M. Woodman. Merci.
And of course, first thoughts to the family, tremendous sympathy for the family and those who are close, the friends to Kirk Woodman. She did not take any questions, just making the statement in English and French, and it is very much a reiteration of what we were bringing you just moments ago as the formal written statement from Global Affairs came out, calling it a dreadful news for family and friends, of course, calling it a despicable crime, a terrible crime, and saying Canada is appalled and deeply saddened, according to the formal statement, at what has transpired and the murder of Canadian Kirk Woodman. And again, in both English and French, first thoughts for the family. Most of the family members are based in Nova Scotia, saying that Canada is committed to working with officials in Burkina Faso to bring those responsible to justice. There has been no claim of responsibility